Take a seat, take a seat. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Ozge, and then the panel will begin. So Ozge is Chief Data Scientist at Microsoft Canada, and she believes that the words she first heard from Grace Hopper, the most dangerous phrase in the English language is, "We've always done it this way." So that's her kind of mantra. Prior to joining Microsoft, Ozge was co-founder and CEO of TopLog, a startup that focused on predictive data analytics based on unstructured log data. She started TopLog in 2013 while she was working towards her PhD in computer science from Dalhousie University, and spends much of her spare time attending conferences these days. But interesting fact, she gets very nervous when eating a burger in case the burger pieces slide out. So we're glad that there was pizza served tonight. Okay, over to Ozge.
Thank you. And yeah, seriously, I do get very nervous. Like when my husband wants to have a bite from my burger, I have to hold it and let him bite and then take it back. There's no way I can let him take the burger from me. Important. Thank you. So thanks for everyone being here today. This is amazing. What I would like to do is just quick intros from everyone. Ian, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ian Collins, co-founder and CEO of a company called Wysdom. And what we do, we call cognitive care. And the basic premise is that 80% of all customer service for a B2C enterprise, large insurance bank, telcos and stuff, will be handled by an AI in the next 5 years. So we provide a full stack, everything you need to get into business, delivering cognitive care to your end customers within a few months. It's a full stack, not just a chatbot. We've seen a lot of chatbot stuff around, but it's really everything you need to get into business, within a few months and deliver that service.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Joseph Geraci. I'm the president and co-founder of Netramark, and we're focused on developing really unique machine learning technologies that are really good with complex but not necessarily small data, and this is often found in clinical trials. So we help pharmaceutical companies prevent monstrous disasters, and we also, through some partnerships with pharmaceutical companies, we actually buy failed drugs and use machine learning to resurrect those drugs, because of failures.
Awesome. Thanks, Joseph.
I'm Steve Clute. I'm the Chief Data Officer and co-founder with Canvas Analytics. We are about providing automation around AI for industrial IoT companies. So we work with a lot of manufacturers and automate modeling and forecasting with their data.
Thank you.
And I'm Brian Kobus. I'm a partner with Omers Ventures. We're a venture capital firm based here in Toronto, focused primarily on investing in Canadian startups, but also looking at U.S. opportunities. And tonight's particularly interesting. AI is a common theme we're seeing in pitches these days and making its way into other business models.
I was really hoping that Brian would be one of my investors, actually, when I was running my startup, but we never made it to his level. Never. Maybe one day, Brian.
I've learned a lot since then, so maybe I would make a different decision.
Thank you. So just a heads up, everyone. I've always been on the other side of the panel. I don't really ask questions. People ask me questions. So what I feel like is going to happen today, I'll ask the question and I'll be like, me. Can I answer that one? So I'll try not to, okay? But just to set the stage, and this is a question for everyone. From the technology perspective, where do you see the advancements going? Like, what excites you these days, and what excites you for the next 5 to 10 years coming up? Who would like to take a crack?
Want me to go first?
Please.
Sure. So two things I would comment on here is, I think that there's a lot of mathematics that has been neglected, not on purpose. Machine learning has had to evolve, but there's a lot of techniques in mathematics that are going to be accessed to create methods that we can't even imagine now. And I'm starting to see it already, and we've done some of this work with us, in our organization. So really alternative methods where, fast learning and using methods from mathematics, which are a little bit obscure to a lot of the computer scientists, but it's going to start bleeding into that circle. And number two is what we've had the fortune of playing with is quantum computation. And so we actually, just last week, we got a quantum computer to learn how to distinguish between two different types of lung cancer, right? So we use quantum machine learning to do this.
You say you got a quantum
Yeah, we got
computer?
it. Yeah, we got it to work.
Can I come see it one day?
No, the
No?
computer's in Burnaby. I got to actually go inside one of these things when it was off. This is usually at like minus 230 degrees,
Yeah.
right? But no, we have access to it through the Creative Destruction Labs.
Awesome.
And yeah, with D-Wave.
That's awesome. Anyone else?
I guess some of the waves that we're seeing as we kind of look at pitches today, blockchain and decentralized applications. And like, by the way, as a venture investor, you have to love buzzwords because you live in like buzzwords all the time. But yeah, it's kind of cool in that field that you've got roots to Ethereum here in Toronto. And then obviously, as I mentioned, AI, another kind of globally relevant, far-reaching trend. And again, here with some great expertise here in Toronto and in Canada. So I think then and more mature technologies, we invest across stages. So anywhere from the seed and A rounds, where the kind of blockchain and AI opportunities are commonly found today, to more of a kind of cloud and SaaS, where more of the more mature companies are found.
Yeah, I'd say I think AI, we've talked about, has been around for a while now, but applied AI in kind of to the masses is still relatively new, and I think we're still really in the infancy of that, and we're going to start to see AI applied in places that we're not even thinking of right now, and we're just kind of scratching the surface on it. So I think it's going to grow a lot more.
Okay. Anything to add? Good. All right. No, that was actually a perfect kind of tying to what's next in my list is we say AI, right? But AI, as you said, is just like these days almost anything and everything. Like, where do you think we're going with AI? When you say we're just scratching the surface, like, where do you think we're going? What is exciting, and where do you see the advancements in it, or where should we be focusing on, if there should be a focus?
Well, I think what we're seeing from our customers and kind of the direction that we're taking is more around the autonomous stuff, and it's not just the autonomous automobiles get a lot of hype, but applying that type of autonomy to major complex industrial processes that we're seeing our customers wanting and really asking for, and I think there's a lot to be done there in that space. And the comment of this is the way we've always done it. We run into that type of a scenario all the time. You've got your process engineers, your process experts that have been doing it one way, but is it the right way? And that's where I think AI can really start to step in. And it's not just from a cost savings and an automation standpoint, but doing things better. And I think there's real opportunity there.
I think one thing we're starting to see finally, like any new wave of technology, it starts with a lot of hype and a lot of buzzwords and hardcore research into the nitty gritty. And then it matures to a point, like we're seeing today in the enterprise anyway, where we're starting to apply AI to real business problems and starting to show real value and benefits. And we're just hitting that stage today, I think. We've seen a lot of people dabbling and playing, and there's certain applications. The thing we work in cognitive care, for a couple of reasons, it's starting to get widely deployed around the world. All large B2C enterprise realizes AI is going to be a big boost or benefit in my customer care business, and everybody's starting to deploy it. The customers want it, the economic benefits are relatively clear, and a full solution is starting to become clear. What does a solution look like? It's not a little framework or a toolkit for developers, but a complete enterprise solution. So we're seeing AI, I think, mature to that point where we now understand it's a great tool in the toolbox, but an enterprise solution in the enterprise space. Like say, it's different in other areas, in healthcare and government maybe, but in the enterprise, we're seeing a level of maturity this year, especially where enterprise is buying and they're buying solutions, not technology anymore.
So two directions that we're taking at our company is I see like in medicine the impact is going to be massive, and it's going to be slow to get there, but it's happening, and our ability to bring on personalized medicine, like really personalized approaches, because each one of us has a very unique machinery, and the machine learning technologies that are already here and that are being developed are going to allow us to actually redefine disease and to redefine the ways we treat disease through personalized medicine. On another note, a more industrial setting, I don't know if you guys know, but in Toronto, there's been the Uplift program, which is basically a smart city, smart building program that's been, and Microsoft is actually involved with this. And so we're engaged with that as well. And I can see that the environments we work in and the way we're going to be monitored is going to become a lot more, I mean, the impact is going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And one of the things, the other thing in my mind is, I get this question all the time, I'm a data scientist, like, what should I be looking forward to in the next 5 years, right? Or where should I focus? Like, and it's always like we think from the technology perspective, but my answer is always like, actually focus on an industry. I don't believe, that's my personal thought, like I don't believe that we're going to have generic data scientists in the next 5 to 10 years. We'll have a financial services data scientist, healthcare data scientist, and all those special areas like industrial, like you guys were all touching right now. Like, Brian, do you see any kind of like verticals in the AI space and with the startups as well kind of going this way? Like, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think to Ian's point about enterprises embracing AI, it's definitely true, and it's probably true across all verticals. But they're at different levels of maturity, and likely, financial institutions are probably furthest along, given kind of the heritage of securities trading and quantitative trading and kind of structured data and known outcomes, and other areas where there's perhaps more structure or more regulation or more process, they're more careful in wading into allowing machines to kind of more seriously influence decisions. So I think it's happening across verticals. There's different maturity levels at each kind of, depending on which vertical you look at. But for sure, the application of AI to real business contexts is key. And I think from a business model perspective, we're looking for not just, can you develop a great machine learning solution to bring into a vertical where it's still their data and they're capturing the value, and sooner or later they'll build in-house capabilities. Maybe they don't need you as much anymore. They marginalize your solution into kind of that more, proprietary data or staying power, or even kind of, finding a way to compete more directly with their early customers.
And if I ask you to pick one vertical that is so hot today and another vertical that you believe it will be so hot in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think, we see a ton of opportunities in healthcare today because it's a huge industry and there's so much value to be gained, I think, through the application. Probably in like transportation, you're seeing a ton of investment today and a lot of noise and buzz, but you don't see self-driving cars outside yet because the costs to failure are so high. But it's coming, and I think when you have really complex problem sets like autonomous navigation, sometimes you need to simplify the problem set to really get the application out there, and I think we might see some of that with some of the smart city stuff that's happening, kind of bridging the gap to some of the problems that exist today.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest areas we're going to see change in the next little while. AI's sort of turned the corner from, oh, that's some cool technology. It sounds pretty new and interesting, and I think it might have some application in my business, to the point where software-based decision systems in most enterprises are going to turn the corner, and people are going to realize, if my competitor has put an AI system in place of a rules-based system that I've had for the last decade or so, that they're going to slowly siphon away all my customers. And we're going to see acceleration in the next couple of years. For example, if I'm a bank and I've got a system for determining risk, should I give a mortgage to somebody? And if my competitor puts an AI-based system in, they're going to make better decisions. We understand now clearly it'll make better decisions based on all the inputs I put into it. Some deep learning model will say this customer's a good risk. I can price it right. I can put mortgages out, and slowly that competitor is going to take my business away. And if I don't make a change and put an AI or deep learning system in to make decisions like that, I'll be left behind, and I'll be left with the worst risks in the marketplace. So I think the enterprise and all the decision systems are going to be turned over pretty quickly, we're going to see that acceleration in the next little while, and real solutions then obviously are going to pick up that business. But we're at that turning point where it's been dabbling and playing and prototypes and demos and tests, and people are realizing now it works. And we're seeing it at our business very clearly. And so I think we're going to have some, the next 5 years is going to be super exciting. Maybe one of the biggest waves of enterprise software buying, ever.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. Adoption is what we need to do now. So if we were to look at your own challenges and, or maybe any interesting facts, while you were, or if you did, like raise money in this AI startup field, and Brian, for you, it's investing in AI startups. Like, what are some of the challenges or learnings? What are some of the things that you can share with the crowd here? Open the kimono a little bit. Yeah.
I'd say from our point of view, we see a lot of investors that are really eager to get into this space, whether that's VCs or even angels. And I think what we've tried to do is really look at how can you find a strategic investor? Somebody that can really help you build your business, build your company, open doors. I mean, they're not going to get their hands too dirty, but somebody that has some value to add to you as well. And there's a lot of really great investors out there that are capable of doing that, and go find those partners that can help you with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What really helped with us was that we had a lead investor that was strategic, that was in the pharma industry, owned a pharmaceutical company, and they were an angel. But besides that, it was the network that my partner and I were able to latch onto, and that was vital. And what was pretty amazing is Toronto was capable of, almost all of our investors were from within Toronto. Not all, but we had a California investor and so forth, but the majority. So I think networking, having that right network is really important. And I like what you're saying about being careful who you let on, someone who can help you,
One other thought on that, I've been doing this a long time as well. Like Ryan, I started back in the 90s. I hate to admit, back when it was actually kind of a sickness to start a company. But one thing I've seen in all that time is there are always outliers. You're looking at fundraising, and it's a tough job. It's not that easy. Everybody thinks maybe go find the right VC and they're going to love you and it's going to happen. It just doesn't work out usually. But there are always these outliers. You see in the news every day. There's the Airbnbs and the Googles and the odd deal that has a $1 billion, a $10 billion, a $50 billion valuation, and you think, maybe that should be a comparable for me, and it just isn't. Those are the ones that get the news, unfortunately, and you can get the perception can be that is the norm, but it totally isn't. They're the 1%, the outliers if you plot the chart, and then there's the real world. In the real world, you have to be much more reasonable. And when you're raising money, you've got to obviously kind of have a ballpark of what your valuation is going to be and get the deals done. The most important thing, of course, in growing a company is to get a deal done, get some funds in the bank, and continue to grow and go back. And don't expect to be one of those outliers. I mean, if you are, that's awesome. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But the reality is you're going to grow a business, you're going to grow a great company, and you're going to get an honest, middle-of-the-road valuation. Don't expect anything else.
And fundraising is hard everywhere, is what I think.
I think so. I mean, it's great in Toronto, like you said, Joe. It's changed in 20 years. It's so much easier than it used to be, but it still is tough. There's no easy fundraising.
Yeah. Well, what I saw, I was doing my startup in Halifax, and we would look at Toronto. We would be like, we wish we were in Toronto. There's so much money in there. And then
we wish we were in the Valley, right? Or New York.
And then I come here. Yes, that's the story that I hear. Oh, Bear, yeah, they have so much money. We don't have anything in Toronto. It's funny. So how about you, Brian? Well, what do you think about investing in these AI startups? And what are some of the things that you look for?
Yeah, I'd say, it's obviously a big, exciting opportunity that depending on where you apply it. And, from an investor perspective, probably now what's being kind of going through the head of the person across the table from you is, I see a lot of parallels to maybe the way the ad tech world evolved in kind of the 2005 to 10 timeframe. In that, you started moving online, you had digital, you had measurement and the ability to follow clicks and see what worked. And there was a bunch of smart data scientists that would apply algorithms towards ad targeting. And they could say, hey, your cost per click is going to go down based on the way I'm doing things. And it moved the needle. And they were able to extract a lot of money in that process because they brought great efficiency. But then a lot of smart people started dedicating their attention to that market. And they started competing away that efficiency. And the spenders of marketing dollars started playing them off against each other and saying, well, how much better are you really? Until there wasn't much left for anybody, and the market sort of dried up. And you end up with a digital marketing marketplace today dominated by Google and Facebook, big owners of proprietary data. And so I think when you think about your business model, and it depends on the type of investor you're talking to, a seed investor that may be very happy with you selling for $30 million and having a good outcome for everybody, maybe you don't need to go there. But for a venture capital fund that's looking to find that next $250 million exit, you need to have kind of that longevity and leverage in your business model. So think about not just how do you kind of approach customers today who are going to be welcome you with open arms with something that sounds like, sure, yeah, why don't I kind of do a little trial and here's some data and you can tell me what you think, but no commitment to go beyond that. So to kind of get past that point, and what does your business model look like, as you kind of scale out and scale up?
Awesome. So I'll tie that to data, and I'll ask you guys my favorite question these days. It is seriously my favorite question. What do you think about ethics and bias in AI? And we are definitely bringing our biases into data today, and we're not careful about it at all. Like, our translators are translating things with total gender biases. Like, what are your thoughts? Well, how are we going to solve this, or should we even solve it? Like, what do we do with that?
I mean, I can just talk about our experience. I mean, in medicine, we create ways to predict whether someone's going to respond to a chemotherapy, right? So we have really accurate models for understanding whether a woman is going to survive her ovarian cancer and her treatment. And the people I work with in this industry detest this whole black box thing and the bias that can be generated. So a big part of what we focus on is giving the clinicians and the scientists the ability to look into the models in a new way, so that they can actually say this gene that's included is ridiculous. It was totally a screw up, right? And this happens because everyone's studying cancer and genes get implicated, but sometimes it's not the most meaningful variable. I'm not going to get into the tech of it, but we do focus on providing pharmaceutical companies and clinicians the ability to peer in and rip this type of bias out. In terms of bots becoming Nazis online, I think that's just an immaturity to the technology. It'll evolve.
It brings up an interesting point. The ethics is hard. I don't know what the answer is for sure. I'm not a data scientist, but we see it in our business, the same challenge, that we use a combination of deep learning and NLP, and the deep learning is not ready for prime time. We can't deliver that to the end customer. We use deep learning because it's inherently a black box and not explainable, and we've got to use that for internal-facing tools. We use that for training tools and methodologies, and our internal staff will use the deep learning tools as to predict what might happen in content generators and a bunch of that. But you still can't use that to generate answers to a live customer yet, because the enterprise needs explainability, and explainability in AI means I can follow the model through and understand this input led to that output and so on, and I can't do that in deep learning today. So I can't deliver that to an end customer. The enterprise won't accept it yet. They need clarity and explainability and absolute control. And if you can't deliver that, you can't use it.
Yeah, Equifax has this issue. I was a data scientist for Equifax, and they need to explain to the person why you're being rejected. So we have methods that focus on this, and it kind of gives us an advantage in this space, but it'll happen.
I think it's a huge concern. I don't know that we have any good answers for it yet. That's kind of why we've chosen to do IoT data, so it's the machines talking to us, to remove some of that stuff. But I think there needs to be a lot more research around explaining the black box. There's some techniques to do it, but we need more.
Yeah, augmented intelligence.
Yes.
Augmented, like where the user gets something.
From the audience, if you want to facilitate some questions from the audience.
Yes, but you know what? I actually want to put Brian on the spot, and I just want to ask him also, do you know, like, if investors are actually looking into this when investing in the companies, if the application is an ethical application?
Yeah, I think definitely it's a consideration, right? Like you've seen fund after fund shy away from clearly unethical thing. Or I shouldn't say that everyone's ethics are different, but like, gun manufacturers and big investors just saying, hey, we don't touch that, right? Tobacco being an example a long time ago, and with AI and droids, like drones and robotics used in like a military context, right? There's a clear application and a big fat checkbook waiting for those. But I think I don't know if we would do a deal like that because of where it could go and the ethics associated with it. And then more broadly today you talk about privacy, and it's a front and center topic, and it's something that we can't ignore, and oftentimes you kind of look at an opportunity and you can see how it could be, it could backfire. So we're looking at how the ethics are or how they could be perceived down the road.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. So maybe one question? Two, maybe? All right, we have one there.
So given the latest developments in AI and cloud and robotics, things like Goldman Sachs has installed AI and laid off 598 out of the 600 people because AI has taken over their jobs, or China's using AI to find and scan and arrest people in robotics. It brings concern of if mass unemployment, and second is future-proofing the people who are currently in technology, whether they're developers or some other positions. Would you like to comment on that? That's for all five of you.
Does anyone would like to?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing question that could take a whole course, but I mean, the truth is, this is an unstoppable movement, and I think what's going to happen is it's going to have to drive a change in the very way we do economics, right? I think there's no other way, right? Because a lot of people are going to become obsolete because of these advances. So our economics has to address this, right? And it's a very important thing that we need to think about as well, right? But I mean, I can go on.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no good answer to that question right now. I think we've heard it asked around the world, and I've read hundreds of articles. I have yet to hear a great answer, other than we're all going to retrain, we're all going to get new, learn new skills and have a lot of time off and many other things. I still haven't heard a really great answer to that one.
But we have gone through these cycles before.
Yeah.
I mean, just the robotic movement in manufacturing.
Horses turned to cars. Yeah, the saddle manufacturers all found something to do.
Yeah, and each time our economics changes, right? It's the way we reward people for their work, and also the idea we have about work. How should we, I don't know. I don't want to get into this, but there's a lot of work that's unnecessary, right? Right? All right. Yes.
Hello. You talked about some of the things about machine learning, about ethics, and how it can be a black box, and some things might be hard to explain. Have you ever had an incident with machine learning and AI in general that it kind of shocked you, it behaved in a way that you didn't expect, in a good or bad way? I'm more interested in bad way, but yeah.
I mean, I've seen some amazing ways. I mean, I've seen a machine spit out of millions of combinations, spit out exactly the drug target in an experiment. Unexpected. I mean, there's a paper that you guys can look up about some robots with some simple gene structure, 16 genes, and you let them run around in a survival situation there's battery and then there's drain, okay? So the robots run around in this, and this is real. And you're gonna pod Lipson as well, but So this experiment, what ends up happening is the robots have to compete for resources, and they start off completely like random. And after a couple hundred generations, some of them, they form factions. And one of them starts to lie for their family. They say, oh, this is food. And it's actually a drain. And so what happens is the robots that plug into one of these drains get removed from the gene pool. And so it's this, and it's very surprising to see. And one of the families evolved a saint. They would say, no, I try first, right? And it's pretty amazing. If you talk to me after, I might be able to find the paper, but yeah.
All right, one more question. Last one. Oh, there's one. Oh, sorry, there's one here already. Sorry.
I was wondering how you think AI will disrupt the education industry and the benefits that would come from that.
I don't know how. I feel the silence, so maybe I'll just jump into this one. I don't know how, but it will. I know it will, right? And and I don't think it's just AI. It's just the technology overall, like HoloLens. You know, you just seen and like how interacting in a virtual environment when maybe you don't even need to be in the classrooms anymore, or it will definitely change our world.
Precision education. All of us learn in different ways. There's papers that say that's BS. I say that's BS. People learn differently. Okay, there's people who are really good musicians naturally in other ways, and what's going to happen is we're going to be able to hit this right off the bat. We're going to be able to see the way kids are. AI systems are going to be able to tailor education.
I love that. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much.